these teams have played already today, so we're going to have to see what kind of fatigue these teams have coming into this game.
They do. This is Julia Childless alongside Mr. Ecstatic. I'm excited that we're announcing together again. This is great stuff. You did mention that they've already played once today. This is crazy. The Maelstrom took on the #1 ranked Your Mom right away in the morning here and just kicked butt. I mean, they just came out I mean, we knew that we thought it was going to be kind of a blowout, I think, everybody in the building, and they just gave it to,
well, normally the first round 1 seed matchup is typically given to be a blowout. This was not quite exactly that. Central Mass stuck around, and it was, I forget the exact score, it was right around 200 to 100. It was about a 100-point gap, but
they just fought through till the end. I mean, they were not going to let it go, and it was an amazing bout to watch. And then Portland, just a little while ago, took on the defending champions, New York Stock Exchange, and again, just would not let it go. And there was a moment there where I think New York had reason to be a little bit worried because they were really creeping up on them.
In the second half, Bridgetown Menace were able to put on a run and were able to come back a little bit and tightened up the game. And, of course, penalty trouble later on in that second half got to them a little bit, and New York was able to cement their lead.
Definitely. And Val Capone and I were just talking about how those penalties can just be the ending of any team's run for any game. And Puget Sound ran into that. Just before this, we announced that bout between Magic City and Puget Sound, and that's exactly what Puget Sound ran into, is a lot of penalty trouble. So
if you don't have your skaters on the track, it's a lot harder to score points.
It is definitely that. Yeah, that's the basic math of roller derby, ladies and gentlemen, is you got to be on the track to actually score points, and that's important. So coming up here, we've got Maelstrom versus the Portland Bridgetown Menace.
And real quick, if you were looking at the monitor there, you saw a message on the back of Bob Noxus's jacket, RCR should be here. Of course, we do miss the Race City Rebels from Indianapolis at this tournament, just falling short of that 8th seed.
Boy, and Central Mass took them on, too. I mean, it just, that's the Red Lion Pub, which I have not been to yet, but I've heard it's amazing. So, yeah, and Central Mass bumped them out by 1 game. So it was absolutely phenomenal the way that Central Mass works this kind of stuff out.
Indeed, Race City looked like they had that spot sewn up. They went out to the Mohawk Valley Cup and lost a game to Central Mass after beating them at Spring Roll earlier in the year.
Definitely.
And that win that Central Mass had bought them their spot in this tournament. And now they will start off here.
Keeping in mind as well, Central Mass played about 13 to 15 bouts this season. That's a lot of bouts.
Indeed, they played more bouts than anyone else.
And Portland was the only team at Spring Roll to play 4 instead of 3 bouts, and so we know they have stamina. So coming into this, and we are facing the jammers, not sitting to the back of them. So it's going to take a minute before we pick up those jammer numbers, unfortunately.
Looks
but we're going to do the
like
best we can here.
Yeah, it looks like coming off the line for Bridgetown is Bruce Payne. Off the jammer line, wearing the goggles and the jammer star. Of course, if you're joining us
Portland
on the
is
stream,
in black for this bout, so you can. And then we also have Wes Turn from the Mass Maelstrom.
Bruce Payne way out in front for lead jammer status, picks that up way early. He's back around beginning a scoring pass. At the same time, number 2, Wes Turn, out of the pack as well, working on a scoring pass of his own.
Getting some big hits out of the pack here, but managing to stay on his skates, so looking excellent there.
And Bruce Payne with a nice hit it and quit, gets through the front of the pack, calls the jam off. He picks up a few points, and it's going to be a 4-zip lead starting off after the first jam. The Menace up by 4.
Oh, and it looks like the RCR, NRG, and CCAG. I hope I'm reading that right.
That's DG, yeah.
Yep, Circle City Roller Girls, the Race City, and Naptown Roller Girls. They're all at the Red Lion Pub and Grill watching us on TV. So
hello to everybody there at the Grog House.
Love you guys. I miss the Race City Rebels very much. They're an awesome, awesome league, and they're watching from home. I'm glad to see that. I was wondering if we were going to see any of them here, and we saw Scott red-handed earlier, but they are all at the Red Lion.
And in this second jam so far, out in front for the Mass Maelstrom is number 109 Cilantro. He takes lead jammer status. Tommy Gunn on the floor jamming for the Bridgetown Menace.
And this is going to be such a cool bout because these teams are so evenly matched. Oh, looks like we have the Portland jammer down on the floor. Looks like his head bounced.
Tommy Gunn took a shot at the rear of the pack and fell to the ground, and I think you're right, Julie. I think that was A bounced head on the floor there.
Looks like he's holding his face. We hope he's okay.
Yeah, he seems like he wants to get up, so
again, this seems like an opportune time to thank our volunteers once again, our medical staff and all of those people that spend their time just watching out for the guys and making sure that they're safe, and if something does happen, somebody's available to help them with that. So we're very, very lucky to have the volunteers, especially our medical staff, who do that.
It's been good to have them here today. There have been a few, luckily most of them minor, but there have been a few stoppages of play for injuries so far in the 4 games that we've seen so far today.
Well, and Ringster, the company that we use, is created by roller derby people, and so they understand the importance of volunteers and the volunteer work that goes into it. And so Ringster makes a big point of thanking the volunteers and hoping they're well. Looks like he is up under his own speed. Looks like he's a little tippy there, not feeling the best he's ever felt, I expect, but they're going to take him off and check him out. But he is walking off or skating off the track under his own
Doesn't seem to be
volition.
favoring either leg, but he's being helped off the track there by a couple of members of their team staff.
I suspect it makes you a little bit dizzy when that happens, so.
Indeed. Hopefully we don't have a concussion situation there, but hopefully we can check back in on Tommy Gunn later on in the game. Hopefully he'll be back in play.
Looks like for the time being we have No Big Deal and Bustin' Mornose up to the line. No Big Deal from Maelstrom, and oh, I'm sorry, that is not Bustin' Mornose.
Lead 'em and Reap, number 8 with the Jammer Star. Couple of Maelstrom jammer or blockers in the box, so a 4-on-2 or a 3-on-2, excuse me, blocking advantage for the Bridgetown Menace at the beginning of this jam.
Looks like we're still setting everything up and making sure. The beginning of the bouts can sometimes be like that, and so thank you again to one of our sponsors, Rydell Skates. Always a great place to check out Rydell. Unmatched quality, unmatched performance, Rydell Skates. I think a lot of the skaters out here use Rydells and have for a long time, so check them out, rydellskates.com. Looks like we're having a little bit of a timeout here.
Yeah, we got an official timeout happening. There's a little discussion over at the penalty box. Our referee, Mr. Rock, over there making sure everything's all right at the penalty box, and the clock is getting ready to start again as we've got just a few seconds till the start of this jam. As I said, only 2 blockers out there for the Central Mass Maelstrom, Rotten Tail and Mitochondria up in front of the pack.
Looks like we have somebody from Portland. He's about to come out again, so won't be too terribly long. Looks like number 508, No Big Deal, coming through the pack, but he is closely followed by Portland's Jammer.
Yep, that's Bleed 'em and Reap, once again, right on his tail.
And this is exactly what we saw in that Puget Sound Magic City bout, is the guys just stick so close to each other and they just get right on your back and won't stop. And so it makes it really hard to score even if you are the lead jammer. So
it's tough when lead jammer is your only advantage on the track,
exactly,
because that doesn't lead to much scoring.
That's exactly it. And I mean, that's a great advantage to have, but if that's it, boy, it's penalties and things like that that are going to get you those points. And so
that's absolutely right, Julia.
Again, I think we're going to see any team that runs into penalty trouble being the people that have a problem with that bout.
So now instead of 3-on-2, it's 4-on-2 in favor of the Menace. They've got a full complement of blockers out there, just 2 for the Maelstrom. And out around the outside, it is Spangers and Stash finally getting lead jammer status. He's way out in front.
And it looks like Stryker from Portland. Stryker, of course, just showing us an amazing show at Spring Roll. Absolutely strong jammer for the Mass Maelstrom. And then we do have a a blocker from Portland into the box, and so Stryker is not your lead jammer. Bangers and Stash coming up around Stryker, and so Stryker making sure that it's going to be very hard for Bangers and Stash to make any scoring pass.
So Bangers picks up 4 points on that jam unopposed. And so far, our score is looking like 13-8 in favor of Central Mass with 26:15 remaining in this first period.
So far today, a very, very exciting day of Derby, even outside of this bout. And I can't wait to see what tomorrow holds. Right now, Mass Maelstrom and Portland, you're seeing big jump out of the box there. Number 2 for Mass Maelstrom, West Turn.
He's followed quickly by Bruce Payne. Both of them came out about the same time. I think West Turn actually passed by Bruce Payne after they came out of the pack.
Yep, that definitely did happen. And when we saw, I mean, Bruce Payne just in that bout earlier today, just crazy, kept getting, I mean, just jamming and then jamming again and then jamming again and just would not stop.
Especially in the second half. They didn't really utilize him much until that second half.
Yep.
But they especially used him then, and it certainly, I think, played a part in the run they were able to make on New York.
And it looks to me like that is now Bustin Mornos on the line to jam for Portland. I can't quite see who Mass Maelstrom is, so I'll let you know that in just a sec.
That looks like number 109, Cilantro.
Thank you, sir. Bustin Mornos, of course, a transfer out from the Twin Cities Terrors this year, moved out to Portland for his job, and very happily joined the Portland. Lucky to have him. He's a very skilled player, so. And it looks like he is still battling his way through the pack, but the menace is, and Bustin Mornos breaks through the pack, but he is not. Oh, he is your lead jammer. Looked like there was going to be a penalty there, but that is not the case. Mass Maelstrom's player still caught in the back there.
Yeah, Cilantro having a really hard time with the Determinator in the middle of the pack right there. Still held up behind one blocker at the front. That it still is the Determinator, still working on Cilantro.
Well, and Cilantro's team, Mass Maelstrom's pack, not giving him a lot of help. They're kind of in the back of Portland's pack, and they're having a rough time giving him a hand getting through, whereas the Portland pack is leaving a lot of holes for Bustin Mornos to go through. So,
indeed. Well, the Central Mass team, they've gotten a little bit of rest. Not very much, obviously, playing the first game this morning. The Menace playing a little bit more recently.
Bustin Morno is very excited about getting out of the pack and getting those points. And so Portland will pick up a few extra points. It looks like 8 points for them. Massachusetts has 13, and so they are closing that gap a little bit.
And once again, I think for one of the first times we're seeing up in front of the pack, Don Juan the Devastator. We talked about him a lot during the earlier game against the Shock Exchange. So far, not utilized as a jammer in this one, but we'll probably expect to see him later on.
I suspect so, and Portland kind of has that habit of using those jammers and putting a couple others in later and giving everybody a rest. So 508, no big deal from Mass Maelstrom. Taking on.
This is Bruce Payne once again with lead jammer status way out in front of the pack. Now working on a scoring pass is Bruce Payne, trying to get around the outside. Held off by, that looks like Mitochondria in the middle of the pack for the Central Mass Maelstrom.
And so he will call off that jam before Central Mass has a chance to score.
So some quick points thrown up on the board, and Menace on top now, 18-13.
It's gotten a little bit quiet here in St. Louis. We have two bouts left to go, this one and our next one, Puget Sound versus Dallas. Of course, Puget Sound just very recently falling to Magic City in what was the most exciting bout of the day, I think.
Well, it certainly was the most physical. It looked very early like...
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but number 8, Bleed 'em and Reap from Portland, just jamming his way around the inside like the pack wasn't even there. That was absolutely beautiful. Striker following closely behind, but he will call it off before Striker has a chance to score. That was absolutely beautifully done by Bleed 'em and Reap.
Indeed, a very quick hitter there by Bleed 'em and Reap. Picks up a couple of points there for the Menace. 1 point, I believe. That's going to be 19-13 right now with 21:55 to go.
Very nicely done by Portland. They are running a really tight ship, and I know both of their bench coaches keep a really tight team spirit going and make sure everybody is working really well together as a team. So that's something I really admire about Portland. Central Mass, number 2, West Turn, just jumping out in front of the pack, taking that lead jammer, no problem.
Nobody else in motion. He was just able to charge right up along the inside line. Took lead jammer status very easily.
Bustin Morno is still trapped behind Rotten Tail, and number 8-1-2 Belgian Awful, but he does call off the jam before Bustin has a chance to get through that pack.
West Turn picking up 4 points on that one and closing the gap a little bit for the Central Mass Maelstrom, 19-17, trailing just by 2. We saw a lot of really fast scoring in the first 3 games of the day. I think in the last game, Game 4 with the Magic City Misfits and the Puget Sound Outcasts, scoring slowed way down. We're seeing that again in this game right here.
And I think once you get teams that are a little bit more matched skill-wise, you're going to get more exciting play. Bruce Payne putting up his arms, not blocking anybody, getting around for that lead jammer. Cilantro having a tough time getting through. He's trapped in between number 9 for Portland. That would be Bangers and Stash.
But Bruce Payne, instead of getting lead jammer, getting out in front of that pack, he cut that frontmost person, so that's a major track cut. He's in the box now.
So power jam for Massachusetts. Hopefully they can pull out a couple extra points. But it looks like Cilantro having a tough time getting around that big Portland wall that they're putting up. And they're banging him around something severe, and so he keeps kind of getting pushed and shoved and knocked down. And
well, and Bangers and Stash having a lot to do with the banging happening in the middle of the pack
definitely.
Right there.
And Portland looking, I mean, they're a very physical team. They don't kind of come off at first as that kind of team, but they actually, when it comes down to it, are a very physical team.
I think you're right. They don't strike you immediately as a very physically aggressive team, but they definitely know when to turn it on. Their blocking against the Shock Exchange definitely showed that earlier. Cilantro being tied up at the back of the pack, trying to get around Bangers and Stash at the rear. Couple of skaters to get through. But it's too much. That jam going to be called off. No scoring on that last pass for the Menace. 2 points picked up by the Central Mass Maelstrom, and that's going to give us a tie score.
Well, and just like that, you know, we've closed up that gap, and the guys are showing us why this bout is going to be so much fun to watch, because it's going to be back and forth like that all bout is going to be my guess, and they're going to have to work really hard to maintain that point differential if they want it.
Indeed. Looks like blocking advantage of 1 skater for the Central Mass Maelstrom, 4-on-3. And they're going to start off.
Again, Bustin Morneau is on the line for Portland, along with 5:08. That is no big deal for Central Mass.
He gets out there quickly. Is your lead jammer, followed quickly by Bustin Morneau's.
And no big deal, reminding me a lot of Truth Hurts that plays for Harm's Way. Just has that like sort of short stature, zippy back and forth kind of feel to him.
I would agree completely.
And just kind of gets out of the pack really fast before you kind of notice that he's there. And that's who he kind of reminds me of when he skates. It's like that little jump thing that he just did, you know, just so quick, reminds me a lot of Truth Hurts. So.
And no big deal getting knocked to the outside there. Looked like he attempted to call off the jam. It didn't get called. He got back up and play resumed.
Right.
Was able to get around for 1 more scoring pass. Picked up the grand slam before the end of that one.
So it's probably a good idea that somebody didn't notice that.
Good thing that he was able to get up off the ground.
Good for them.
So with that, Central Mass takes the lead.
Looking like a striker there on the line for Central Mass, and it looks like Portland's jammer in the box. So they will start out jammerless, and it will be Power Jam Massachusetts right away.
That's right, trying to fight through a wall at the front. He gets around the outside of Bangers and Stash, then gets by Bruce Payne. He'll pick up lead jammer status.
Striker coming around very quickly, trying to get at least 1 scoring pass, it looks like, before they let the Portland jammer out of the box. Again, running up against the back of Bruce Payne, who's proving that he's just as good a blocker as he is a jammer, because he just keeps weaving around.
Indeed, although this time Striker gets around Bruce Payne on the inside, picks up the grand slam. 5 more points for Central Mass. Jammer for the Menace still in the box, serving his time.
So it looks like he did have a little bit longer penalty than normal on that one, and so he'll be there for a couple of more seconds. Striker racking up points while he's on that power, and this is exactly what you do on a power jam. I mean, Massachusetts is taking full advantage of the fact that they have a chance to work together and get and spread out that point differential.
They're trying to not go anywhere. They're staying put on the track, trying to hold back Central Mass behind them.
Striker making another pass, another 5 points there for him.
Big jam right here for Central Mass, the 8 seed, trying to come up with what, you know, statistically by the numbers would be considered an upset, an 8 over the 6.
Definitely.
If they were able to pull this one off.
And Central Mass just slowing that pack way down to give Striker a lot of time, you know, really close up that gap and give him some time to catch up to the back of the pack. So really good teamwork there on their part, I think. And that is the end of that jam. And Stryker took full advantage and just took that whole 2-minute jam and racked up a whole bunch of points. So your new score for that is 42 Central Massachusetts and 19 for the Menace.
Menace locked on that number 19. They were ahead 19-7 or so earlier in the game, or at least 19-8, and have not been able to put any points on the board since then. Almost 40 unanswered points for Central Mass in that time frame.
So it looks like Portland calling a timeout, probably an excellent idea right now, talking a little bit about their strategy and what they need to happen and how they need to deal with that kind of thing.
Of course, later on, coming up after this bout, we have Game 6, the final game of the day. That's going to be between the Dallas Deception and the Puget Sound Outcasts, coming up in just a little bit following this game. And, of course, this game that we've got going on here, this isn't the end of the road for these teams either. The winner of this game is going to go on to play tomorrow at 3 o'clock or so to determine who gets 5th place in this tournament.
Yeah, definitely. And Puget Sound and Dallas, always a fun bout to watch. You know, those two teams have been around a long time. They know each other very well, and so that should be an excellent bout to see as well. So please tune into that and take a look, and then join us again tomorrow bright and early, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, and we will start out bright and early with the Des Moines Magic City bout, and that's going to be something to see.
It is. The semifinal bouts in the early part of the morning tomorrow are going to be there's way too much good derby for that early in the morning as far as I'm concerned.
I completely agree, because right following that is New York Stock Exchange and the Gatekeepers, and you know, every time those two teams play each other, something crazy weird happens.
It's going to be the rematch that everybody's been waiting for.
I mean, like, everybody always loves seeing them play. Looks like Central Mass here, skating number 2.
West Turn out in front again.
Bustin Morneau is out of the box now to rejoin the pack.
Blocking advantage in place now for the Menace, 4-3. And Bustin Morneau circles around for another pass, but that one's going to be called off by West Turn before he can get there.
Well, and a fun fact for you, I've never actually seen an entire Gatekeepers New York Stock Exchange bout.
Wow.
If you can, every time I've seen those two teams meet up, I've been announcing another bout, which I absolutely love, but I've always caught just bits and pieces of whatever's happened. I've never actually seen them play an entire bout. I am extremely excited to get a chance to do that.
It's one of the great things about the format this year, just one track, one game at a time,
yep.
So you can take in every little bit of the action this whole weekend.
And the folks at home, too. You know, everybody can see every bout that happens and be able to talk about that with their league. Looks like number 8.
That's Bleed 'em and Reap out once again.
Showing us what he's made of, and Cilantro stuck behind the Portland pack again, having a really tough time with that Portland defense.
Well, the Menace really needing to start to figure something out here if they want to go to halftime with not too much of a deficit, as Central Mass has taken a 47-19 lead. That was Bruce Payne being sent off to the penalty box for the Menace, so even blocking on the track right now, 3-3, as Jack Hammered out of the box for Central Mass.
Jack Hammered, one of the big hitters from Central Mass, just a very large guy, and when he hits the side of these plastic walls, the whole place just shakes. So you got to watch out for him if you're the offense to his defense. Well,
if you were lucky enough to see that first game against Your Mom Men's Derby early this morning, seeing the apex jump that Jack Hammered pulled off late in the game to score 4 points.
Oh, I know. That was phenomenal.
Tore the house down.
You wouldn't think a guy like that could do an apex jump like that. No judgment on Jack Hammered, but man, you don't often see a guy that big get up off his skates.
He got up. He got way up.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, that was quite a jump. It was impressive. But right now, taking off on this jam once again. Another jam starting, and this time it is 5:08.
No big deal from Mass Maelstrom, and number 9, Bangers and Stash, once again from Portland.
Bangers and Stash out in front, but not going to be your lead jammer. He committed a track cut minor.
And again, I'll say I love how, no big deal, caught behind the Portland defense there. Bangers and Stash just finding his hole, coming around, beautiful, beautiful job, picking up that 5 points. And the thing I love about both these teams is they're not new teams, but they're new to tournaments like this.
Right.
And they've just started to develop so fully that they can do tournaments like this and be at this level. And I love that we have all this new talent coming in, because we're all, and you got to love the Shock Exchange and the Gatekeepers and Magic City. I mean, these teams have been around for a while. We love watching them play, but I can't wait to see in a few years what kind of talent we bring out of teams like this and what level they can go to.
Well, and Bob Noxious and I were talking about that during the Shock Exchange Menace bout. The development of teams is quick, but the growth of the MRDA as a whole is kind of slow. They're bringing in teams as they're ready, and it's a really good model, I think, for growth of an organization.
Which is great, because it gives organizations a chance to work together to gain ground without having to necessarily be that. I have Stryker here for Central Massachusetts, and like you said, we were going to see this guy coming up. And
yep, here we go. Don Juan the Devastator out there jamming now for the Bridgetown Menace. He was out behind, did not pick up any status or points on that one. 3 points, I believe, or 2 points picked up by Stryker for the Maelstrom on that jam.
And again, the first time I saw him skate, I thought, this guy's not going to be able to skate very fast maybe, but he just zips around.
Don Juan the Devastator?
Definitely.
Oh, yes, he's got, we were talking about this earlier as well. I mean, he's got a sort of a smaller frame. He's not incredibly tall.
Exactly.
But he's very smooth and very quick.
Definitely. And it looks like we do have some people in the box, and so we're running into a little penalty trouble. Bustin Mornose from Portland out there up against number 2, West Turn from Central Mass.
West Turn's being sent to the penalty box. That was a track cut on him, so he's going to sit for up to a minute.
Power Jam Portland for Bustin Mornose, and this is where he's going to be able to show his strength as far as, transferring in from the Twin Cities Terrors. He was one of their big jammers on that team, and so that's really what he does well. And in this situation especially, he's able to utilize that other jammer not being there.
Well, he's got the other jammer not on the track, but he's got a full complement of blockers.
When he is caught right behind Jack Hammer there, which is a rough place for anybody to be, I think. So he's going to back up and try it again.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near Jack Hammer if I was on that track.
Number 8, Burnt Reynolds, trying to get around him, and so he and
Jack Hammer just hit his face on the floor. He is down outside of turn number 1. He went down, and it looked like he just sort of face planted, hit his nose on the floor.
Yeah, but sure did. And so we are going to have the medics back out again, hoping he's okay. It looks like he's trying to roll over and kind of get up, and the medics are asking if he'll just stay with him here for a minute. And
yeah, I think he's
going to skate off on his own, it looks like. But it looks like he kind of had the wind knocked out of him there for a minute.
Well, and got a shot to the melon,
yeah.
Got his bell rung a little bit. You always end up being a little
that's always a little
loopy.
woozy after that. That's a rough deal. So, and like we were talking about, I mean, this is a physical game. These guys are not messing around. They're in this to win it, and that's what's going to happen when things like that go on. And they all know that.
And the other thing too is that this is championships. This is for all the marbles. So they're leaving it all out there.
Exactly.
Today.
Nobody's pulling any punches on that one, I think, and so. Looks like we do have the Massachusetts jammer in the box right now, and so Power Jam Portland to start out this jam.
That's right, starting off with Bruce Payne coming off the line. They are at full strength, are the Bridgetown Menace. No jammer and just 3 blockers for the Central Mass Maelstrom. And Central Mass has managed to take a lead back here. 49-46 is our score with 9:54 remaining. Just about a third of the period left. We're 18 jams in.
This is jumping back and forth quite a bit.
Yeah, like I said earlier, that Central Mass was going to have to figure something out to start coming back in this game, and they've got that covered. They've been able to force the Menace into some penalty trouble and kept some people in the box, opening up some holes in the track for them to do their work, and it's working so far with a 3-point lead.
Definitely, and they're keeping together as a team, which is the biggest thing, and I think that's what makes these two teams great, is they figured that out. Stryker,
around the outside.
West Turn coming around the outside. Bruce Payne tangled up in the back there, in what looks like some of his own players, but he keeps getting bumped by Massachusetts. Big pile up over on the turn. Holy cow, number 7, Mass Maelstrom, getting caught right in the middle of the whole blocking debacle.
And West Turn through all that, manages to sling through along the inside while that big pileup was going on the outside. Picks up, I believe, the grand slam, and he did that getting lead jammer status all coming out of the box after that jam started.
Oh, my goodness.
So that started as a power jam situation, ended up with the other team getting lead and a hit it and quit it grand slam.
Exactly, and that's what makes it exciting.
And timeout called by the Central Mass Maelstrom. So we're going to pause for that. Action on the track at least, Will.
And just a quick shout out to some of our sponsors, Green Monster Roller Sports. Green Monster makes everything cool. They make antique boots, gumball toe stops, which are the best thing ever, reckless wheels, moto bearings, and they don't use any vowels because they don't need to, because they're Green Monster. Why do you need to use vowels? And they're the instigators of every cool new big thing in this industry. Every time something cool comes out, it's Green Monster that's coming out with it. And I said this during the last bout, I can't say it enough, their customer service is just amazing. You know, you call Quadzilla, you call Short Bus, you need something, they take care of it, they make sure that you're happy. If you're not happy, they'll make sure that you become happy. And plus they have the best commercials in all of roller derby, quite frankly.
They do have some good commercials, I can vouch for that.
I mean, those things are hilarious right there. So even if it's just for the commercials, people, that's good stuff.
So it looks like we're about to get back to the action, and this time Don Juan the Devastator coming off of the jammer line for the Bridgetown Menace. He will face 508, no big deal, from the Mass Maelstrom. And no pack called immediately. Jammers are released. Going to have a scrum start as both jammers try to fight their way through this buildup of jammers. And
no big deal. Taking a big hit from number 9, Bangers and Stash, and has to recycle to the back of the pack. But Don Juan the Devastator taking another big hit. And they will be back on level ground here.
Both jammers up near the front of the pack, but Don Juan the Devastator goes down, gets back up. He's going to be your lead jammer.
And it looks like we have a couple of Central Mass guys headed to the penalty box. Little confusion over who's going where, and they are back in the pack. And so Massachusetts, a couple of those guys can't take penalties because the penalty box is just full. So Burnt Reynolds and Speeder Parker will have to take their penalties here in a minute. Don Juan the Devastator coming around for another pass around the inside and running into those two guys. But they are going to need to let him go.
Nice move by Don Juan the Devastator. He ran into that sort of two-wall along the outside, slowed his roll, and was able to accelerate along the inside and leave them in the dust. Picks up 5 points on the Grand Slam pass after that.
Very, very nice utilization of that by Don Juan the Devastator. Just looked for all the holes and went around anything that was happening.
Well, and that causes another lead change. That puts the Menace back on top at 60-54.
It's going to be that kind of game, is it?
Apparently so.
Looks like we have Stryker up for the Mass Maelstrom.
And once again, Bruce Payne.
These two guys just working hard today, man. They have been out for every other jam. I can't imagine they're not just exhausted, but they just keep going. Mass Maelstrom down a couple of guys, so lead jammer, Portland there.
Way
Bruce
out in
Payne.
front is Bruce Payne.
And it looks like Stryker still caught in the middle.
Yeah, he got
coming
pushed
up along the back of number 1000.
He got pushed to the outside, got back in, and got knocked outside one more time on the turn and landed hard on his back. His feet got knocked out from under him. Luckily, Stryker back up and in the mix again.
And it looks like we do have even pack numbers now, but both teams have somebody in the penalty box. And so both of these teams running into a little bit of penalty trouble here early on.
Yeah, 3-on-3 currently, although the Central Mass blocker in the box did just stand up before the end of that one, so we'll see him return shortly. A few more points picked up there by the Bridgetown Menace, 68-54.
And we have just a little under 7 minutes left to go in this half. We have a little bit of an empty stadium here. I see some of Dallas Gators out there and a few of the Magic City guys after their bout taking a look, but we do have things emptying out a little bit here in St. Louis. People are heading off for dinner and things like that, but bright and early tomorrow morning at 9 again, you can join us to see Your Mom Des Moines Roller Derby take on Magic City Misfits.
As we mentioned before, the morning chock full of great derby, the 1-4 matchup that you just mentioned and the 2-3 matchup pitting the St. Louis gatekeepers once again against the New York Stock Exchange.
Definitely, and if you're interested in looking for skates and looking to see what kind might fit you, check out Vanilla Derby. They're always striving to exceed your expectations. Now available with upgraded Italian leather, so if you're looking for some great skates, Vanilla skates are very pretty. And they're very comfortable, I've heard. So check those out if you're looking for new skates. The folks at Vanilla are great, easy to work with, and they know their stuff. They're very product knowledgeable, so check that out.
Jam underway, and this time we've got a pileup happening in the middle of that first turn. Speaking of turn, West turn out in front almost for the Central Mass Maelstrom, getting knocked to the edge of the straightaway by Blitzkrieg.
Look at that, though. Number 8 from the Mass Maelstrom just staying on his skates, and it looked like he was going to tip right over, and he just stayed up.
That was Burnt Reynolds being able to stay up like that. The pack backing up, staying over there in turn 3, as West turn makes it through once again, picks up 5 points.
Looks like we have a full penalty box for Portland, including their jammers. So we have a power jam situation here for the Mass Maelstrom. West turn running right into the back of number 33, Blitzkrieg from Portland, but he just keeps right on going.
And that one's going to end. I think that ended right as a skater was released from the box for the Central Mass Maelstrom. So I think we're going to start this next jam with a power jam situation and a 4-on-2 blocking advantage in favor of Central Mass, as they are looking at a 4-point deficit with 5 minutes to go in the first. So this has the potential to be a big jam for Central Mass, looking to take the lead back in hopes of building on that before halftime.
Definitely, and it'd be great to go out like that. You have a little bit of leeway when you come back from your halftime. Number 109, Cilantro, going to try and close up that gap a little bit and pick up a couple of those extra points, and then you don't have to worry so much, and you can talk about what your strategy is going to be as opposed to talking about what's going to get you out of that hole.
But so far, the Bridgetown Menace doing a good job of holding back.
Cilantro getting just around.
He's being sent out, though. Track cut penalty on Cilantro is going to spring Bleed Him and Reap from the box for the Bridgetown Menace. So Bleed Him and Reap back into the mix.
And we have a power jam in the other direction. So we're just doing jammer swap here in the penalty box right now.
Bleed Him and Reap powering through the middle of the Central Mass defense. That's Speeder Parker and Deep Insider up there at the front of the pack. So an initial pass completed there by Bleed Him and Reap, now working on scoring some points. And so this is not turning out the way Central Mass would have liked at the beginning of that jam.
Beautiful move right there by Bleed Him and Reap from Portland, just doing the spin around to get out of that Mass Maelstrom pack. And he is going to try and pick up some extra points. Oh, just squeezes through the wall. And number 775 from Mass Maelstrom, Deep Insider, has to let him go.
5 more points picked up right there by Bleed Him and Reap, as the Menace going on top even further here. They've scored 10 unanswered points, and it looks like another 4, so 14 unanswered.
And it looks like we are having a full jam here. We don't have a lead jammer at all. We're going to have the full 2-minute jam, and these guys are just going to keep going until the jam runs out, really.
So there it is. That's the end of that jam. Score reads 83-64. The Bridgetown Menace opening up a 19-point advantage, as we've got just over 2.5 minutes left to play in this first period.
Boy, that was really well done by the Menace, and they just took that opportunity and ran with it and racked up as many points as they could. They
really flipped the script on the Maelstrom right there, because that should have been advantage Maelstrom at the beginning of that jam.
Most definitely, I agree, and they said, nope, we're not going to do that, and we're going to roll, and that was it.
So looks like an official timeout still in progress here, getting ready to begin once again. Most of the skaters have come to the line.
It's like a little shuffling around, and we had an official officials conversation there before we got started, and it looks like
Bruce Payne and No Big Deal are going to come off the line this time.
definitely.
So Bruce Payne in the black for the Menace and No Big Deal in the white for the Maelstrom.
Bruce Payne getting pushed around by the Maelstrom there. They're trying to get him to the back of the pack.
And No Big Deal out in front, picks up lead jammer status, finds a little bit of daylight on the inside.
Yeah, great strategy there by Portland, just letting him do his own thing and holding back the other jammer, and he's able to just get through on his own. Coming up around the side there.
Bruce Payne also around now, working on a scoring pass.
Trying to get past the Determinator.
And I think he did pick up 2 points before that one ended.
And it looks like number 24, Demolition Man from Portland, is headed to the penalty box.
So we're finally at the point where this has potential to be the last jam of the half.
About 1.5 minutes left in this half, and so we're gonna try and reset. But it looks like Portland is doing some swapping of helmet panties there.
The star cover resting on the helmet of Don Juan the Devastator, up to jam again for the Bridgetown Menace.
Against Stryker from Massachusetts. And it looks like they're all having a little conversation. There's a little timeout being called. Looks like it's an official timeout. They're trying to... Looks like they're having a conversation about some scoring issues, so we're going to do that. In the meantime, let's talk about Ringster a little bit. Man, Ringster is cool, is it not?
It is.
Ringster is running all of our stats. It is a computer program created by Derby folk, so it understands Derby, and you can just pop everything into it, and it'll just recycle everything through and tell you exactly what's happening.
In real time.
In real time, which is huge for Derby. So if you are interested in using this for your league, check out ringster.com. They'll run just about any stat that you need, and it's just been an amazing program.
It's a great resource because not only does it track and report stats, it generates all the different kinds of stats reports that you could want. It generates your bout reporting form for your sanctioned bouts at the end of your bout. It's a really neat resource that the guys, mostly a couple of guys with the New York Stock Exchange, Ronnie Mako, particularly having a big hand in developing Ringster.
And I think it's cool that it's made by Derby people, because you know that it's made to do exactly what it's supposed to do, and it's not a modified program from somewhere else. So
it also will control and run scoreboards, so it's another use that it has for your league if you want to check it out.
So we're back to the action here.
And
Don Juan the Devastator and Stryker once again up to the line. Don Juan the Devastator taking lead jammer status right there.
That's right, he's way out in front, but also now Stryker about half a track behind him, closing the gap. We've got just under 45 seconds remaining in regulation.
Don Juan the Devastator calling off that jam right as Stryker is coming up to the back, so not letting him score on that at all.
And we will have one more jam.
Looks like 30 seconds left to go in this half.
So Bruce Payne going to wear the jammer star for the Bridgetown Menace this time around.
I can't see who that is for Central Mass because I am too far away. I don't know if you can catch that or not.
I think that is West Turn.
Excellent. West Turn doing a little jammer on jammer action with Bruce Payne there trying to push him out and just jump around a little bit, and so he's going to do that. Bruce Payne, though, coming around the inside, able to get that lead jammer status while West Turn is still stuck behind.
So Bruce Payne maybe going to pick up a couple more points. Regulation time has ended, so the end of this jam is the end of the period.
Looks like we do have a penalty being called on Portland's pivot. That is 85.
That's Shreddy Mercury.
Bruce Payne taking full advantage of this to get some extra points, as West Turn has not even made his initial pass yet.
So Bruce Payne working on another scoring pass.
Whoa!
Speeder Parker knocked to the deck by Demolition Man.
By Demolition Man, just amazing. He just like tucked and rolled past that. That was incredible.
And that is the end of that jam. It's finally called off, so that's going to do it for our first period of play in Game 5. Currently, the 6th seed Bridgetown Menace leading the 8-seed Central Mass Maelstrom 97-72, just a 25-point gap separating these teams right now, and as we know, that's not really very much.
No, it really isn't, especially for teams as evenly matched as this. So give us about 15 minutes, and we'll take a little bit of a break. This would be a great time to get up and get yourself a drink and some popcorn and come right back.
We'll be back.